Okay, that was a powerful story. Anyway, I called my friends up and I was so excited. Hey man, I'm going to be on Oprah. Hey, I'm going to be on Oprah. Man, did you know I was going to be on Oprah? And they were like very concerned. So they called their friends and like, did you hear about Sid? Yeah, he thinks he's going to be on Oprah. It's really sad. I think that car hit him in the head. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I really was going to be on Oprah. They just didn't believe me. So when I came on the TV, they were like, Sid, you're on Oprah! Like, I tried to tell you I was going to be on Oprah, right? But there was one catch to the Oprah experience, and it was the drunk driver. So, this man lived close by me. He was in my state, okay? His wife used to tell him to stop drinking, go to church all the time. Never did it. I knew his wife. I know his wife, okay? Seen her at church, you know, you kind of in passing. And one day, she came to our house with a loaf of bread to apologize, okay, for her husband's actions. And I'll never forget, the doorbell rang, and me and my mom were both in a wheelchair at the time. And we both went towards the door. And my mom opened the door, and it was Martha. And my mom said, who are you, and what? And oh my gosh, and she just slammed the door in her face. She's trying to tell us she was there to apologize, and I was like, Mom, what are you doing? Like, that woman's totally 100% innocent, didn't do anything except try and prevent her husband from driving, right? So I watched that, and I learned from that a lot. I started to realize that I'm a pretty positive person, optimistic, competitive, outgoing, and my mom was starting to become bitter and hated the world because of her only child being injured, you know, and she was kind of taking out on others, you know. So I thought to myself, you know, that's not me, that's not who I am. So I called up the driver and I said, may I speak to Brett? And he said, this is Brett. I said, this is Sidney, the kid that you ran over, and there was this awkward silence. Like, how can I help you? And I said, well, I've been in contact with Oprah Winfrey, and we have a chance to go on the show. Would you be interested in going and sharing your side story? It's kind of important for people to understand like how this happened. And so he said, let me think about it. Well, he ended up doing it, and we're going to take a quick look at that also, because it's a really powerful message that's on one of the videos I'll show you. So, yeah, for me it was back to surgery. So many surgeries, hard to describe. 25 surgeries, you know, a lot of different things they tried to do with taking bones from my hips to do bone grafts. They took this blood vessel out of my arm, skin grafts off my thighs all the time, fibular graft over here where they took bone from my fibula. So many surgeries. I remember after, well, I think I spoke here in 1989 at Weber High School, okay? I think it was the first time. It's actually in this picture here. Can you believe it? This is 1991. Can you believe that? I'm speaking, and I'll pass this around, with the bone structure on my leg. Can you believe that? So, Mrs. Radel said, would you come up, and just pass that around, would you come up and speak to the class, it's our anatomy class, we're doing skeletal system, can you describe how to do bone stretching? And I said, sure, and it was very successful. So we kept doing it, and we've still been doing it for all these years, right? I became comfortable at speaking and went around to 13 states speaking, telling the story. Oprah helped kick that off, and it was a great experience. You know, speaking to so many students, I learned a lot, helped a lot of people by sharing the story, right? I graduated from Weber State. I was on crutches for 11 years. Still on crutches when I graduated, and I had a zoology major, psychology major, and a chemistry minor, and I wanted to go to medical school. Okay? my best friend ended up going to medical school after he played basketball at the U. So I was like, now I got to go to medical school, right? Anyway, I did have a tendency to follow that kid through life. This guy, my best friend. Anyway, so I got accepted into a research program at Tulane Medical School in New Orleans. Very significant, okay? Because I'm still on crutches, but I want to learn medicine. So I worked in the ER down there on crutches. It was crazy. Saw people that were shot. It was insane. I then had some experience in, go that way. You're just behind you that way, and down and around, yeah. So I worked in urology. I did some surgery in urology. And I had a mentor at Tulane named Dr. James P. Carter. Dr. Carter was a brilliant man, and he wrote a book called Racketeering in Medicine, which kind of talked about the pharmaceutical companies and, prescription drugs, and how we should live our lives more natural, with plants and vegetables, fruits. And so I got assigned this research project where my patients didn't want cancer or like chemo or radiation treatment for their cancer. They wanted juicing, vegetables. They were at the time sharks. They found out sharks don't get cancer, so they were grinding up shark cartilage into a powder and giving it to patients to help attack tumors. I was looking into that research. Selenium, CoQ10, all these things to help boost your immune system and fight cancer. So it was very successful. My research down there was really cool. And one day Dr. Carter said, "Sidney, grab your coat, we're going to go to see a guest speaker." The guest speaker was a man named Deepak Chopra. Have you ever heard of him? So Deepak Chopra wrote a book called Quantum Healing, or Healing Your Body with Your Mind. And that became very fascinating to me. And so I met him, he signed the book, read the book, and started to use my mind to heal my body. And I still do that even to this day. So I came back from Tulane, and that experience helped me get into medical school. The letters from Dr. Scott, my surgeons, and so I got into medical school at the U, and I'm still on crutches. The first 2 years of medical school is classroom and labs, but a lot of labs. We're talking pharmacology, pathology, anatomy, physiology, chemistry, biochem, histology, neuroanatomy. You have a pile of books, and you just go like this. Okay, I'm going to do an hour of pharmacology and learn some drugs. I'm going to do an hour of physiology. I'm going to do an hour of anatomy. I'm going to do an hour of biochemistry. It's a lot of volume, I'll tell you that. You have to be extremely dedicated. So the third year of medical school is our rotations, okay, where you spend time in each field of medicine. And I'm still on crutches, so it was extremely challenging. My first rotation was pediatric oncology, which kids with cancer. Horrible way to start your third year of medical school. I was like, go home and cry every day. Kids are dying, it's sad. I don't know how anybody does that job, but someone's got to do it, right? Help the kids. I knew right away that was not the field I was interested in. So then I spent a lot of time in OB-GYN delivering babies, and that was pretty cool, except for the Mother Nature schedule was horrible. 2 a.m. delivering a baby. 4 a.m. Stay up all night, right? You're on crutches. But it was interesting. In fact, my best friend delivers babies, Larry. We were talking the other day, and he's like, "Oh, my patient's water just broke. I gotta go." Hey, she's gonna go deliver a baby right now. Okay, it's good talking to you. So he's got these giant hands, right? And he's 6'9", so he's like, "How are you gonna?" He's not gonna drop the baby, right? Anyway, did some psychiatry. Worked at the VA hospital, internal medicine, psychiatry. Worked in orthopedics, one of my favorite fields. Matter of fact, I watched them operate on me. Because how many of you have had surgery before? Okay. General anesthetic is horrible, right? It's horrible. It's horrible. It's a fact. When you go out and it's just horrible. Waking up, throwing up, everything. So I said, Dr. Scott, I would like to stay awake during my surgeries. I want to do an epidural so I can talk to you and not be so anxious and have a horrible experience. So he let me stay awake during surgery. They set up these mirrors, and I'm watching them, you know, operate on my leg. And I'm like, so what are you doing to that guy over there? I'm like, that's you, Sid. I'm like, oh my gosh! Such a weird experience that they're operating on your leg, right? You can't feel your leg, but you see them. And anyway, it was very educational, and I liked that and learned a lot. So third year was it was a good experience for me, but it was very, very hard. It was very hard being on crutches and being on call at the hospital for several days. It was very difficult. Right before my senior year of medical school, I decided to take a break. I took a break, and I got a part in a movie of all things. It's crazy. The Ballad of Lucy Whipple. CBS Movie of the Week. Glenn Close. Do you know who Glenn Close is? 101 Dalmatians, Cruella de Vil, whatever. You know. Anyway, really big time Hollywood actress, and I was living in the mountains on the movie set by Camas, Thousand Peaks Ranch. And I'm a pretty talkative guy, right? I'll mess with people. So I started talking to the movie producer, Michael Gallant, and he's like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? Who does he think he is, right? Like, people are people to me, you know. When I worked for the Utah Jazz, I used to get in arguments with D. Will all the time because he thought he was some god or something. I'm like, dude, you're like human, like everyone else. What? So I've always treated people that way. You know, blood's all the same color, right? We're all the same. We're all just people. And so this guy, I kept talking about nutrition to this Hollywood producer and stuff. And he actually asked me to be his trainer, go work out in Park City after we were filming, which led to more parts in movies, you know, Christmas in the Clouds, Luck of the Irish, Touched by an Angel, MTV, Dance for MTV. I remember hiding my crutches for that audition. No one even knew I was on crutches when I was on MTV. It was crazy. But I ended up getting a TV show called Dr. Fit, and that's how I became Dr. Fit. It was on Park City TV, and it was on Channel 17 of Ogden, and it was an educational fitness show. So yeah, I never went back to medical school. I just started having fun, and had a change of heart, and I got a phone call from Ken College, okay, amazing guy from North Ogden, physical therapist, super good athlete, and he said, hey Sid, how would you like to come and write some exercise programs for our patients after they finish their physical therapy? And I said, oh man, that'd be perfect. That'd be perfect, because I lived in California, and I remember riding my mountain bike from Huntington Beach over to, Newport Beach over to Huntington Beach, Gold's Gym, and along the way I counted 25 fitness studios. And I said, that's what I want to do right there. I just want to have a fitness studio. So I was working for Ken College in North Ogden, and I got the opportunity to open my own fitness studio, and bam, the rest is history. It's my 23rd year of being a fitness trainer. It's crazy. I've helped thousands of people change their nutrition, eat different, learn things about food. I have my oldest client's 89 years old for her balance and her bone densities. My youngest client's like 8. I train athletes. I have a lady with Parkinson's you're going to see in a minute. But when you look at this video, watch what she's doing. Keep in mind, she has Parkinson's. Have you ever seen someone with Parkinson's, Michael J. Fox? You hardly can control your body because of the low dopamine levels, right? So, as a trainer, in my mind, I do not see her deficiencies. Like, you don't stare at someone that's shaking, you don't stare at their arm. You overlook that and look at them as a whole person and say, just do this, okay? Step up on here, do this, okay? And that's how you coach their mind, okay? And then they start to realize that they can do it, okay? That's the same principle I used when I did American Ninja Warrior, which you're going to see in a minute. I just thought, I have a button that says, let's go, and I can push it. Let's go! And I'll just attack you, I'll just wrestle you right now. I'll do it, right? Let's go. And that's why I didn't think about the obstacles. I just go and do it. I can do it. I'm just going to focus on hitting the buzzer. Boom, okay? So, let's take a look at some videos.
Okay, which one do you want to do, Sid?
I
got the story of Sid.
We'll do the Ninja Warrior one first, and then we'll do the surgery one.
Okay, so this one?
Sure. This lady's still working out, by the way. Sally.
Top fitness challenges in the country.
Yeah, he's doing it after once shattering both of his legs after he was hit by a drunk driver. And tonight we take you inside the story with Dan Rascone to learn more about Dr. Fit. Dan, tell us more about this story.
Yeah, Mark and Sean, a pretty incredible story here. If you would have met Sidney in the hospital many years ago after he got hit by a drunk driver, you would think the kid would never walk again. But now, this man has turned into a fitness guru who's at the top of his game trying to compete with the best of the best. It may appear that Sidney Reeves is just swinging around, goofing off inside a gym. True, he's having fun.
Let's go! Let's go!
But this is some serious training going on right now. For one of the top fitness shows on TV, American Ninja Warrior, where contestants compete in a grueling obstacle course. The goal, make it to the finish line. What does it take to be a ninja warrior?
Endurance, like crazy.
45-year-old Sidney believes he has the skills to make it. But if you knew Sidney's story, you'd be amazed he's even able to walk. Here's the proof.
So this is the back of my left calf. It's now on the front of my right leg.
This happened.
Over here you can see where the bones came out of the skin the night of the accident.
When Sidney was hit by a drunk driver when he was 18 years old.
It was Tuesday night, September 22nd, 1987, when Sidney and his girlfriend were running along the road here in North Ogden, when suddenly they were hit by a drunk driver. Sidney's girlfriend was killed. The only thing Sidney remembers is waking up in a lot of pain.
My bones are sticking out. I'm losing blood. I can feel cool air in my legs. But I was alive. I was alive, you know. And so that's a starting point.
Sidney spent years and years in and out of the hospital, undergoing as many as 25 surgeries. He wore several of these metal braces for years, and at one point doctors even had his legs sewn together. He was told he would probably never walk again, but he beat the odds and walked out of the hospital without crutches 11 years after the accident.
I walked away out of that hospital. I laid on the grass. I looked at the sky. I was totally overwhelmed with emotion. I did it, you know. I did it, you know.
The young man sitting next to him is Sidney Reeves, who was hit by Brett's car.
Sidney's story was so incredible, he ended up on the Oprah show. He would later go on to medical school at the U, but he was a gym rat at heart.
Hips are up.
So 14 years ago, he opened up his very own gym.
This is Sidney's fitness training.
Hoping his experience can be put to use.
I'm using what I went through to now help others bend that knee.
Others, like 64-year-old Sally Pinkham, who has Parkinson's disease.
So has his story helped you in your situation?
Yeah, I mean, how can you not be helped seeing someone who totally came from, they should have his legs amputated.
I feel like I survived for a reason.
A fitness trainer with an incredible comeback story.
Let's go!
That's still being written as he prepares for one of the biggest fitness challenges yet.
I think people need faith, you know, and my story is obviously miraculous. So if I perform well on that show and they see my legs, they're going to know. You can do it, I don't care who you are.
Yeah, pretty incredible. Now, Sidney will be working to submit his video for the show in January, and if he is picked, he will go on to Denver in the spring to compete. Of course, not only is he fit there, but he does have a great story to tell, and that's always a plus for a show.
Just start it, yeah, it's up to the ball. It's okay. I've got 3 screens, isn't that cool?
Okay, so it's pause that.
Oh.
Okay, there we go. Just pause that.
Oh.
I'll narrate without it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, everyone, so what did you think of that video? I missed a big part of the story about the legs being sewn together. I gotta go back and tell that part. Did you guys have any questions? Do you have any questions so far about anything in the story that yeah?
So were you accepted onto the...
On Ninja Warrior?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll come back to that.
Okay.
Yep, all right. I'm keeping in suspense a little bit longer, but I will answer that question. Okay. Any other questions besides Ninja Warrior? Okay, I got to go back and tell you about the actual surgery that healed my legs for good. So I had a lot of surgeries, 25 like I mentioned. There was one point in time when I drove to Flint, Michigan, got an opinion from a surgeon. He was a microvascular surgeon, world-renowned. He took my case, he flew to Salt Lake City, and that's when he took my lat and this blood vessel and put it on my leg, and that surgery actually didn't work. So everyone's surprised it didn't work. So I was kind of at a loss after that surgery. I think I had about 19 surgeries at that point. That was a 13-hour surgery. It was rough, okay? So I was a little bit down. You know, I had lost my mom. My mom didn't make it. My adopted mom passed away. But at the same time, I was able to meet my adopted parents. So I had there's my adopted mom right there, taking me to the doctor in Salt Lake for a visit. And there's my natural dad, my adopted dad in that picture there. So I was blessed that I met my natural parents, and they came into my life with that extra support. Turns out my natural father was a quarterback at Utah State. Can you believe that? So I had the football in my blood, the love of football. And so Dr. Scott said, Sidney, I have another surgeon that has an idea. His name is Dr. Pete. He's from New Zealand, and he wants to sew your legs together to bring circulation from your left leg over to your right leg directly. So that meant sitting in a hospital bed in my room at home for 3 months, okay? And he said, you know, take your time and think about this, and let me know what you want to do. So I called up my friend Mark Veer, and we jumped in the car and we drove to San Diego. And I'll never forget, got to the beach, got out of the car, used my crutches, went down to the sand, took my shoes and socks off, and stuck my feet in the sand. How many of you have been to the beach and put your feet in the sand? By raise of hands. Now, it's amazing, right? It's an amazing feeling. Well, I sort of took a screenshot of that moment. And as I'm wiggling my toes in the sand, there's like a seagull there. I can hear him, I can see him. And the waves are crashing. I can smell the ocean. You know that feeling of being at the ocean is so cool, right? So I went further in this visualization, and I closed my eyes, and I seen myself running down the beach. But I brought all of my senses into it. I can feel the cold, wet sand on my feet. I can hear the seagulls flying around. I can hear the waves crashing on my left. I can smell the ocean. And I'm just running down this beach, you know, like feeling the feeling of I did it, I made it back. Does that make sense? So, I said, Mark, let's go back. And I had the surgery where they sewed my legs together. And that was the surgery that healed my legs. Okay, it brought the blood from the left leg into the right shin area, you know, and then they cut it apart. And that's when you heard me say, I went outside and laid on the grass. And it's very true. I dropped the crutches like forever. And that's part of the reason that when I took the break from medical school was after my legs were healed, and I felt like I was kind of missing out on life and wanted to just go do stuff, right? So that kind of made sense. And that type of medicine, although it saves lives and it saved my leg, I realized wasn't for me. I wanted to be in prevention where before people get sick, like where I'm at, fitness training. So I found my purpose throughout all of this. And the name of my book is going to be Purpose After Perseverance, okay? And that's pretty much what it was. I persevered, I stuck in there, I never stopped, kept going, and yeah, I saved my leg from amputation, and I became whole again, enough to the point where I could like